1, 2, 3, 4.
Florida's success was honored with the 20th ranking in the national polls, and at Ole Miss, Florida was every bit the top 20 powerhouse. Craig Brown scored his first career double-double with 21 points and 13 rebounds.
Brown dribbles left hand, right of the lane, comes up firing, 10-footer, yes. Craig Brown on fire tonight in Oxford by Goolsby. Left side, Craig Brown, long jumper, left side, it's no good. The ball tipped back to Craig, comes up firing, 15-footer, yes. To Dan Croft. Left side, Craig Brown all alone for three, yes.
And the Gators performed the basics to a T. Defensive effort and dominance under the boards led the decisive Rebel rout.
They didn't get a reset. It didn't hit the rim. Only 10 to shoot. Jumper left side. Griffiths blocks it again. A deflection out of bounds. And ahead now to Garnes on the stutter step dribble. Lost the ball. Craig Brown dives to the court. Deflects it back near midcourt. A scramble ensues. And Greg Williams picks it up. Throws it ahead to Thompson on the run out. Bryant lays it in with a finger roll. Great Gator hustle.
But Florida's toughest test yet was just ahead. Next on the slate was a visit to Arkansas's brand new Bud Walton Arena, where the third-ranked and eventual national champion Razorbacks were making mincemeat of everyone. But this Florida team was not everyone. The scrappy Gators weathered the first 20 minutes of hell to trail by only 3.
As I look at it from left to right, Arkansas opens up in a man-to-man. Dan Cross, baseline left into the corner. Craig Brown drives in the paint. Pull up 14-footer. Yes. Point threat. Baseline left. Shoots a shot. Deflected by Anderson. Taken down by the thin Finn Martique-Leesbrook. Ahead to Dan Cross. Second block today by Jason Anderson. The 23rd block of the year. Cross a 16-foot pull-up. Yes. Half-court comes wide left to Craig Brown. Now Brian Thompson is back in, as is Spain Dirkabolton after the timeout. Right baseline to Clerk. Back out front Brown. Baseline left Thompson. 18-foot jumper. It's in. Stewart back to AD down in the paint. And it's stolen away by Thompson. A beautiful steal by Thompson. Thompson feeds it there to Craig Brown, and Craig lays it in, and there's the stop we were hoping.
They hung in there deep into the second 20 as well, with Dan Cross pouring in 18 of his career-high 29 points in the final period.
Back to Cross, left wing, 4-3, yes! Brown throws it ahead to Cross. Cross loads for 3, it's in!
But down the stretch, Arkansas had too much firepower.
And it's now 90-84. Hill had it stolen away by Beck. Down to McDaniel. McDaniel will dunk it.
Even in defeat, the Gators earned another measure of respect from a hoops heavyweight, and still they had no peers at the top of the league's East Division.
Ball game is all over. Oh, man.
Florida continued to rise in the rankings. At the beginning of the week, the Gators were 17th, but the Georgia Bulldogs were seeking some revenge. The game was looking like a barn burner when Georgia headed to the locker room with a 40-36 lead after the first half. But the Gators erupted for 55 second-half markers to overwhelm their guests.
Cross dribble drive into the lane, kick out, left side, Craig Brown for 3, yes! Just checked in for Georgia, and he threw it away. Anderson on the steal, Jason on the jam! Oh my! Jason, a steal and a dunk!
It was the Gators' 20th win of the season. After a harrowing trip to South Carolina in their first meeting, Florida took control early and never let up in the Gamecocks' return visit.
Cross out front, 4-3, yes! And Cross, he's got 24.
An O'Connell Center record 12,272 partisans came out to witness the rematch of Florida and Florida State. In their first meeting, the Seminoles handed the Gators their first loss. This time, they would not be so fortunate.
Thrower right wing, gets it to the foul line to Luckman. Luckman holding and now had it knocked away and stripped and stolen by Florida. Craig Brown, alley-oop to Anderson, and Anderson lays it in. Oh.
An 11-2 run early in the second half set the Florida win in motion.
Craig Brown. Brown on high to the right. Bounce pass down to the right side to Hill. Hill turns, jump hook again, and again. Over Reed. Oh, my. Now plays the ball to DeClerc. Right in the lane. DeClerc backs in. Shoots a baseline jumper. It's good. Andrew DeClerc. Baseline J.
Defense held the Noles in check the rest of the way. Dan Cross again provided steady shooting down the stretch.
And a dunk.
With only 3 games left in the regular season, Florida found itself with a healthy lead in the SEC Eastern Division. A brief but dangerous gauntlet lay between UF and the title, however. The final push began in Vanderbilt's Memorial Coliseum. The Commodores were ready. Florida played a solid first half and led by 4 at the break. But this time it was Vanderbilt who made the decisive second half run, spurred on by the Big Mac attack of Billy McCaffrey and backcourt partner Ronnie McMahon. Things certainly weren't getting any easier. With sole ownership of the SEC East on the line, Florida ventured into a supercharged Rupp Arena on Kentucky's emotional senior night. The Gators overcame the frenzy in the first period, romping to a 33-14 lead.
16-foot jumper, yes. Here come the Gators back, left to right. Greg Brown comes down, fires, 4-3, yes. Brown on the left wing, comes into the lane, jump pass out front, Marti, 4-3, yes. Marti Quisma 4-3. The thin fin has given the Gators a 25-10 lead.
That was on Quisma, his first team second.
He throws it ahead to Anderson, now to Hill to the foul line. Good lean in, and it's running and good.
Kentucky fought back. The Wildcats trailed by 10 at the intermission, and then kicked in the vaunted full-court press in the second 20 minutes. The Gators held on for dear life with some pumped-up pressure of their own. But Kentucky took control late in the contest. Thompson's putback pulled the Gators to within 2. Florida had one last chance.
It's so good. No foul, and the ball game is over.
For the first time since the SEC season began, the Gators were out of the Eastern Division's top spot. But the race wasn't nearly finished. There was one game yet to be played, and it was the Gators' turn for an emotional senior send-off, saying heartfelt farewells to Craig Brown and Marti Quisma. And shortly before Florida took the court against Tennessee, O'Connell Center fans learned that Kentucky had fallen to South Carolina in its season finale. The door was open for Florida to claim a share of the title. Tennessee had other plans. The Vols led by 5 with 12 minutes to play. But with the championship on the line, the Gators mustered another game-breaking run, led by Dan Cross and Jason Anderson.
Jason Anderson driving, baseline, going in deep, scoring.
Just that quickly, Florida took over the game and never looked back.
4-3, yes! The thin spin with 10, and it's the biggest lead for the Gators, 65-57. Oh my, that's a big goal there.
Boasting a 23-6 record, the Gators matched the school mark for wins in a season and became the first team ever to go undefeated at the O-Dome. They stood with Kentucky atop the SEC's Eastern Division. Most importantly, the Gators would enter the SEC tournament as a #1 seed. Florida tipped off the SEC tournament in style.
Brown out front to Anderson. Good look inside to Dimitri Hill. He lays it in. Back come the Gators, right to left. Cross comes down right of the lane. Now it's Craig Brown for three. Book it. Craig Brown. The thin fin comes wide left to Anderson. A kick to cross. Baseline J. No. And yes. Now to Williams. Good look to Anderson across the lane. Jason scores. And one. Count the hoop. A beautiful feed.
The Gators were shooting the lights out when literally the lights went out in Memphis. A freak power outage at the Pyramid gave both teams an unexpected breather. But the break had no bearing on Florida's momentum. The go-to Gator guards continued the three-point bombardment on the hapless Gamecocks. In a day for the record book, Craig Brown's 3 trays made him the Gators' top single-season three-point marksman.
Craig Brown from day one stepped out there and displayed a tremendous combination of self-confidence and yet security in that he didn't have to score the most points to feel good after a game. He just absolutely wanted to do whatever possible to help the team get good results.
And Florida became the winningest team in the 75-year history of Florida basketball. The competition grew stiffer as Alabama awaited in the semifinals, but the Gators rose to the challenge, showing an airtight zone defense and shooting with deadly precision. The Gators rushed to a 13-point halftime lead. Dimitri Hill and Craig Brown led the inside-outside devastation.
Beautiful spinning boost by Dimitri the Thrill Hill. Cross to Brown for three. Yes! Oh my! Cross got the pick off.
The NCAA tourney-bound Bama squad could not find a flaw in Florida's armor. Craig Brown was especially perfect, nailing all 5 three-point attempts. And Florida rolled on to the final behind a second-half instant highlight reel. The Kentucky team that stood before Florida in the tournament final was different than the one it faced twice in the regular season. This one was in a zone. And after stunning the #1 Arkansas Razorbacks in a draining semifinal, the Wildcats grew only stronger. They unleashed an unstoppable rain of threes upon the Gators while holding Florida marksmen off target all game. Kentucky never let up its hold on this one. Florida would be denied the SEC tournament title, but greater things were still ahead. The real thrills were just starting. The NCAA Selection Committee rewarded the Gators with a #3 seed in the East region, but it would be no easy road. It was only the 4th trip a Florida team had ever made to the NCAA tournament, and the Gators were showing some nerves. Florida's nightmarish first 20 minutes gave James Madison a 22-18 lead at the intermission. Nothing was working for the Gators, who suffered a 7-minute scoring drought at one point. But the Gators were themselves again in the second stanza. 3 quick layups gave UF the lead.
Thompson drives it through in the lane. 14th foot away. Yes, Brian Thompson come to life.
Then Dan Cross and Craig Brown led the shooting revival.